The first book we're going to read today is called Lumberjack's Beard. And you guys know what a lumberjack is, right?
No. Yeah.
No? You don't know what a lumberjack is? That's okay. So, Big Jim Hickory was a lumberjack. He lived by the forest in a little log cabin. He had burly shoulders and a big bristly beard. So you ever seen anybody with like a huge beard, like it comes all the way down to here?
No.
Or, yeah, there's a lot of people.
I've seen a guy this way.
Yeah. Your grandpa has a big beard? No. So every morning he did limbering up exercises. It's very important to limber up if you're a lumberjack. After a hearty breakfast of pancakes and maple syrup, Jim slung his trusty axe over his burly shoulder and headed out to cut in the forest.
His legs are skinny.
His legs are skinny. Yeah, I know. This is the funniest picture to me because I guess, like, have you ever seen, done yoga before?
Yes.
Yeah. So I like to think he's doing down dog, but it just looks really funny because his legs are so little. So chop, chop, choppity chop went Jim's axe, echoing through the valley as he felled tree after tree after tree.
He shouldn't do that.
No, he shouldn't. Yeah.
Because it's wasting trees.
It is wasting trees. After a long day of swinging, whacking, cleaving, and hacking, Jim headed back to his cabin. So you can see, this is kind of what it looks like when people, well, it is what it looks like when people cut down trees. But then, so that evening when he was about to go to bed, he heard a peckety peck at his door. Jim looked down to see a small and very angry bird. "I just built my new nest in that tree," shrieked the bird, "and you chopped it down." Jim scratched his chin. Then he had an idea. "I suppose you could move into my beard," he said. "Very well then," said the bird, and it flew in. You want a bird living in your beard? No. It'd be really weird, right? Having a bird.
It would tickle you.
It would tickle, yeah. So the next morning, Jim woke up earlier than usual due to the birds chirping at the crack of dawn. He did his limbering up exercises, got dressed, and ate his breakfast with a little help from the new tenant in his beard. So you can see the bird is eating some pancakes, which I don't think birds eat pancakes. Jim's next job was to strip all the branches and leaves from the tree trunk and burn them in a large bonfire. After a long day of chopping and snapping and burning and crackling, Jim trudged back to his cabin for a well-earned rest. No sooner than he put away his axe than he heard a noise at the door. Scratch, scratchity, scratch. He looked down to see a very angry porcupine. "I needed those leaves and pine needles to make a cozy shelter, and you burned them. What am I going to do now?" asked the porcupine. Jim thought and scratched his chin.
He's going to say they're going to live in his arm.
"I suppose you could live in my beard." And he bent down, and the porcupine crawled in. Now, if you think a bird lives in a beard, how do you think a porcupine would be living in a beard?
Maybe he could attack it or something.
Porcupines are scratchy, and they have things, and itchy, and ugh. The next morning, Jim woke up even earlier and attempted to do his limbering exercises. He looked in the mirror and scratched his chin. Yow! He got porcupine quills all in his fingers. So can you imagine that? Like you're just scratching your beard and then all of a sudden the porcupine pokes you. He tried to eat his breakfast, but lost his appetite when he noticed that was bird poop on his shirt. Oh, bird poop. He's got bird poop on his shirt.
Maybe that actually wasn't a good idea to make them. It was not
No,
a good idea.
I don't think it was.
I would never do that.
Me either. So Jim's job that day was to float all the tree trunks down the river to the lumber yard one by one. He rolled the logs into the fast-flowing water. After a hard day of lugging and splashing and rolling and crashing, you can see down here we have
a beaver
making his dam, but
they're probably the logs are probably going to crash.
Yeah.
Because then it goes through the middle.
Yeah, you see that? All the logs are gonna go down the river. So, Jim staggered back to his cabin. Thwump, thumpity, thwump went his door. Bless you. He looked up to see a very angry beaver on his doorstep. I spent all day building my dam, and it got smashed to bits by those logs you threw in the river, it snarled. Without a word, Jim picked up the beaver and put it in his beard. Between the birds chirping and the porcupines prickling and the beavers thwumping, Jim didn't get any sleep that night. He was so tired, he was too tired to do his limbering up exercises in the morning, and the beaver's thwumping tail knocked his pancakes all over the floor. Do you guys like pancakes? Do you like pancakes?
Yes.
Pancakes are the best thing.
I don't like pancakes.
Are you human? That's it, cried Jim. I can't take it anymore. You all have to move out today. But where will we live? Cried the animals. Jim scratched at his chin. He had a brilliant idea. He went to his bathroom, took out a razor, and began shaving off his big, bristly beard.
Then they could live there.
He's gonna have a mustache. So then he took the hair and piled it up on his porch. I don't think all that hair came from Jim's beard. Or maybe it did. I don't know. He took all the hair and piled it up on the porch, and the bird, the porcupine, and the beaver all moved into their big, bristly new den. That night, Jim slept better than he had for some time. He woke up and did some particularly vigorous limbering up exercises and put on a fresh plaid shirt. Then he made an enormous tower of pancakes and maple syrup. Jim looked out the window at the bare grass used to be and scratched at his now stubby chin. Then he had another brilliant idea. He took a shovel and dug hole after hole after hole. Why do you think he dug all those holes again?
Because he's gonna plant some more trees.
He's gonna plant some more trees. And he planted tree after tree. And you can see the bird, the porcupine, and the beaver are like, look what he's doing. Yeah. Jim's beard grew back over time. You can see it's a little tiny little thing in the spring. I guess that would be springtime.
And then you can see a little tiny beard growing.
Yeah, a little tiny beard growing in the summer.
My birthday's in summer.
Yeah.
It's the last day
You
of
can see,
August.
well, I guess this would probably be fall, maybe.
Yeah, fall and then winter.
And then winter with snow.
My birthday's the last day of August.
Ooh. It took forever, and the trees took a long time to grow, but it was all worth the wait.
And after it grew really big, he's reading a tree book. He's reading a tree book
He
again.
is. It says planting trees.
Like that. Maybe he actually never knew how to plant trees. Maybe that's why.
Maybe he knew just how to
Or maybe he just
tear them
forgot.
down. Yeah.
Like just kick them.
All right.